strangers, welcome to the first video, and hello future Ria, welcome to the cringe. I really tried not to let this be cringe, but I'm pretty sure it's unavoidable. In this one, I'm going to be setting up my 2021 bullet journal. Let's get into it. This might be my first YouTube video, but this is not actually my first bullet journal. 2021 will be my 6th year bullet journaling, so I'm pretty familiar with the system and what works for me, so you might see that some things are a bit different from the original bullet journal method. Without any further ado, let me show you my setup. For 2021, I am so happy to have gotten this notebook from a new company called Perfectly Penned. It ticks all the boxes that I've wanted from a bullet journal notebook. It has very smooth 120 GSM dot grid pages that are numbered, 2 bookmarks, an elastic closure, a pocket in the back, and lay flat design. It doesn't have any pre-made pages, so I can set it all up myself, and it has an attachable pen loop if you want one. The biggest selling point for me was that it has 256 pages. So far, I've managed to fit my entire year into one bullet journal every time, but I have had some pretty close calls with space problems in the past, and so I'm so happy to not have to worry about that in 2021. As it says in the title, I like to keep my bullet journal simple and functional. I hesitate to call it minimal because there is quite a lot going on in some of the spreads, but you won't find me doing any doodling or artwork because honestly, my art skills don't go much further than stick figures, so I don't use my bullet journal as a creative outlet very much. It's not quite minimalist, it's minimal-ish? Minimalist. Is that worse? Anyway. A couple of things to note though about the Perfectly Penned notebook is 1, the numbers are in the dot grid, not in the border, and 2, only pages 3 to 255 are dotted and numbered, so technically it's 253 pages. Despite all that, I am still really happy with this notebook. On this first page, I just wrote my name, and I will add a few personal details after the video, like my phone number, in case the journal gets lost. Let's actually get the notebook out of the way for now, because in my bullet journal last year, I had flip-out key and grid spacing spreads, and I absolutely loved them. In that journal, I carefully took out some paper from the notebook and used them as the flip-outs, and you can do that if you want, but this time the notebook is numbered, so I couldn't just take from a random page. What I did instead was I found a dot grid generator online, linked below, and printed out the exact grid spacing of my notebook, just a little smaller to make them a bit easier to manage. I cut them to size so that I could have neat little flip-outs for 2021. My key has gotten exponentially longer over the years, so it might seem a bit complicated, but I love that I can customize it as I need and get a good picture of what's going on each page at just a glance. And it is called a bullet journal for a reason. Quick note, a jawl, which is the last symbol on the left column, is a South African slang term meaning a celebration or party, so I use it for any time I go out with friends or family. I also have 3 sections on the right for signifiers, dates, and goals to keep everything consistent and easy to understand throughout the journal. I use this grid guide so that I can really easily figure out how to divide my page into halves, thirds, and quarters. I also have one for 13 vertically that I'll explain how I use a bit later. And in the bit of room I had above the title, I drew out little boxes for the dimensions of a day in my go-to monthly spread and a day in my go-to weekly spread. You'll notice at the top of the screen right now, I put up the amount of time it took me to set up each page. That's just the time it took to set up in pen though, so keep in mind that it doesn't include the brainstorming and penciling in time, and sometimes not the crafting time, but I am quite a perfectionist, and I knew this was going onto YouTube, so it probably took me a bit longer than it might take you. I also have the stationery items that I used during the setup on screen too. And after those flip-out pages were ready, we brought back the journal. You just saw me fold the edges of each of the flip-outs, and now I'm using glue to stick them in so that they're visible whenever you need them, wherever you are in the journal. This first proper page is where I had a little 2021 cover spread for the bullet journal. I didn't make a page like this in my first few bullet journals because I thought it was honestly a bit of a waste of time and space. Like, why would I need a reminder of which year it currently is? But after bullet journaling for 5 years now, it can get a little confusing which journal is for which year without having the year written out. I wanted this page to be a bit more elaborate, so I searched online for a font for the numbers, although I changed it a bit. I know some bullet journalists don't include an index, but I find it pretty useful during the year. But it's like the 2021 page because it's especially useful once I'm done with the bullet journal, when I need to find and reference spreads. Something I do a bit differently in my index is that I always use the left page for collections and the right page for monthlies. With my future log this year, I decided to do a bit of a Dutch door for the first time so that I only write the header once and it makes the entire spread more cohesive. If you're new to bullet journaling, a future log is just where you list all the events for months that haven't come up yet, because with bullet journaling, you set up each month as it comes. You're probably seeing the font of these titles and thinking, I thought this video was for people with no art skills. And I have an explanation and a hack for you. All these titles are in my regular cursive handwriting, but I used a calligraphy pen. The pen has a hard, flat tip, and I write with the pen at a 45-degree angle to get the varying thickness. I use this type of pen in a few different sizes throughout all these beginning spreads headers. If you haven't set up your bullet journal yet and you start your weeks on a Monday too, you'll see that February fits so perfectly in 4 weeks this year. It's incredibly satisfying and I had to mention it. My goal spread is pretty jam-packed with information. I decided to split it up into a few related sections. On the left, I have my word of the year and my objectives. In the word of the year box, I'll write the word once I've picked it out, and then a definition or a quote about what it means to me. The objectives are split into 3 sections for each goal I want to focus on this year. I have these 2 prompts for each, and then I put a little monthly tracker to see how they go over the year, and finally a box for me to rate them overall. On the right, I have habits, dreams, and bucket list. The habits are each listed with an initial and diamond next to the name, which links to the goal symbol in the key, and then I also have a monthly tracker for them. As I was setting this up, I messed up my grid, and here's real-time footage of me messing up and taking a moment to decide what to do about it. And then this is the conclusion I got to. Yeah, it's good enough. Mistakes happen, and I love the handmade look of bullet journals, so I just kept it in. The reading tracker has the number of books instead of months, and then I have a block where I can put the actual number of books read in case I go over my goal. I used to be a massive reader, but it's really slowed down over the last 2 years for some reason, so I'm keeping the goal at 5 for 2021. Also, I haven't put any book spreads in my bullet journals since my second one in 2017, because I find it much easier to track it all on Goodreads, so add me as a friend on there if you want to see how my reading goes in 2021. And we're moving on to the vision board. I haven't filled it up yet, but I'm keen to have one in my bujo for the first time. I also plan to put affirmations on this page so that I actually look at it on a daily basis. I've had my year in pixels page every year since my second bullet journal, and I love how it turns out when it's all filled in. Some years I don't keep up with it very well, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed that in 2021 it gets done. On the left-hand side, there are little boxes where I put my mood or how the day went for every day of 2021, and next to the tracker I have a quote that says, "Today, at least you're you, and that's enough," from a musical called Dear Evan Hansen. Also, this is the only spread I'll use a ruler for in almost the entire bullet journal. It's really important to me that I make these setups as easy as possible, and I also find that I somehow mess up the lines a lot when I do use a ruler, so for the most part it's a no on a ruler for me. I put this routine spread right next to the in pixels one because I should look at them both on a daily basis. In this one, I just have my daily, weekly, and monthly routines. In 2020, I used this to write out the things I need to do in my bullet journal regularly so that I don't forget to fill out spreads. This monthly themes spread, I do a little backwards to how I've seen everyone else use it, but I think it might be helpful for you if you're like me and you don't necessarily use your bullet journal for creativity, and instead just want it to be both really functional and easy to use, but also aesthetically pleasing. I use this spread so that I don't have to come up with new headers and layouts every single month. This started because in my second bullet journal, I really experimented with themes just in terms of header styles and sectioning styles, but since then, I've been pretty satisfied with all the headers I created. In the following 2 bullet journals, I kept needing to find and use that second bullet journal so I could copy the styles that I'd come up with to set up a new month. So in 2020, I put it all in one spread so I could always refer to it at the beginning of every month. It worked really well, so I'm doing it again in 2021. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? For each box, I have the month headers at the top, the daily headers in the middle, and a template for how to section things off at the bottom. I hope that this gives you some ideas for quick and easy styles you can use in your own spreads, because each of the daily ones only takes about 2 to 5 minutes to draw up. Have you ever been talking to someone about a show or movie and suddenly you can't remember when you watched it or how you felt about it or if you even finished it? Well, the Stories I Ate spread helps me figure all that out. I have a color code for every type of medium, and then I just fill in the title, whether it's the first time I've consumed the medium, the start and completed dates, and my star rating out of 5. Related to this is my Things to Check Out spread. In each of these boxes, I will list films, series, musicals, and other things people have suggested to me. This next one is a more detailed when did I last tracker. I use the spread for things that I need to do periodically. For each item, I write down the frequency that it needs to be done, and then I have a space for the first time it's done. Below that, I have next and actual spaces for the number of times I expect to do the task in the year. For example, one thing I like to track is blood donation, so you could put the frequency of 56 days. If the last time you donated was December 1st, 2020, you put that in the first section, and then you can use a day calculator to determine when the next time you would donate after that, and that would come up as January 26th. But January 26th comes around, and you don't get around to donating until January 30th because you're busy, so then you put that as the actual date. When you record the actual date, you can calculate 56 days after that, which would be March 27th, and put that in the next spot, and so on until the end of the year. Hopefully I explained that well enough, but if you have any questions, put them down in the comments and I'll try to be a bit clearer. This gift spread is like the Stories I Ate spread in that it's just for keeping track of information I'd like to remember. So I have a gifts received and a gifts given section with the columns who, what, and when. This year, I've split my wish list into want and need, and then I wrote out a few questions I want to ask myself so that I'm more mindful and intentional with my purchases. Before I buy something, I should ask myself, would I rather put this money towards something else? Is this a supplier I want to support? Do I have something similar? Can I borrow it? Can I buy it secondhand? Do I love it? And can it wait? And yes, I have a YouTube spread, which is maybe a bit too ambitious since this is my first video, but I've had so many ideas already, so I'm hopeful that I can keep this up. I have a milestone tracker at the top left, which I'll fill in with red, and then write the date below. I'm hoping to get to 500 subscribers this year, so maybe this is as good a time as any to say subscribe if you want to hear from me again. I plan on making a wide variety of lifestyle-ish videos, and I think it'll be an interesting journey. In the spread, I also have a mini tracker on the top right to make sure I keep to an upload schedule. Below those, I have a space for ideas, and one of the many ideas I've had is bullet journal flip-through videos. I've already shown quite a bit of my first few bullet journals in this video, so let me know if you'd be interested in that. We're almost at the end now. These last 2 spreads are really simple. This is where I'll put my letter to 2022 me. I resized an envelope I had, and I'll put the letter in later. I try to write letters to future me pretty regularly. I have one for 3, 5, and 10 years into the future so far, and they are so fun and interesting to get to read how much life has changed. I'm a bit nervous to read the one I wrote at the beginning of this year for 2021 me, because that Rhea really had no clue what 2020 would bring. And then this final spread is just a quote to bring in the new year. I used a tracing trick in this, where you print out the text you want. I use the same font as the 2021 cover page. You color the back of it in pencil, and then you trace over the front where you want the text to be, and in doing so it transfers the pencil and you have an outline to write over. You can use this for text or drawings, so there's another little hack for us not so talented artists. The quote is from another musical called Hamilton, and it says, "And there's a million things I haven't done, but just you wait." It's exactly the kind of quote I think I need to bring in 2021 after the year 2020 has been. Also, this year I decided to challenge myself to only use quotes from musicals, so we'll see how that pans out. Okay, you might have been wondering what the heck those black bars at the top of most of my spreads were for. Remember that 13 divider that I made in my grid guide? That was for this. I marked the outer border of each page so that I can find collections and months much easier. Every collection has a black bar at the very top, and then January will have a colored bar right below that in the color I chose for it, followed by February below that in its color, and so on. This will be especially helpful for collections I set up in the middle of the year because they'll have a black line at the top so I can find them really quickly without even needing the index. And that's it! Now, let's have a flip through of all the spreads. I love the simplicity of the designs I went with, and I'm so happy with this grayscale look. Some of the pages, like the year in pixels and the future log, are going to really fill up with color as the year progresses, so I love that I have this almost blank canvas to begin with, and that all these opening spreads match so cohesively. Let me know in the comments which of these spreads you like the best. It's basically impossible for me to pick a favorite, but I'm really happy with the ideas I came up with in the goals, monthly themes, and when did I last spreads. If you recreate any of these spreads, but especially those three, I would love it if you tagged me on any of my socials or commented below what you did. I am so excited to use these spreads in 2021, and I'm so happy with how my bullet journal turned out. There are a whole load of links in the description for things I mentioned in the video, and also some things I didn't mention, so check those out if you're interested. There's a link to the bullet journal website, which has the bare bones basics of bullet journaling that I would suggest if you're a complete beginner. Even I still sometimes go back to that site when I'm feeling a bit lost bujo-wise. I get a lot of inspiration online, so some of the links are of YouTube videos from which I got some of my ideas, so please check out those creators if you want more bullet journaling inspiration. Now that my bullet journal is ready for 2021, I feel a bit more ready for 2021 too. Thanks for sticking around to watch until now. I really hope that this video shows you that bullet journaling can be super simple without all the bells and whistles, but still look good. The core of bullet journaling is really about doing what works for you. Whether that's going full-on minimalist or full-on artist, use the system the way that you want to. As I said, I would love to see any of your spreads if they're recreations or inspired by anything I've done in here. So put that in the comments if you want. I did fully info dump on you in this video, so if you have any questions about something I didn't explain properly or anything, put that in the comments as well. Actually, tell me anything you want in the comments. I love talking about bullet journaling, probably about as much as I love actually bullet journaling. Good luck on your own 2021 bullet journal setup, and Happy New Year! I hope 2021 is a good one for you. With that, let's get out of it. Thank you ever so much for your attention. Subscribe, like, comment if you're into that kind of thing. My other socials are Ria_Keeps if you're interested, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, strangers!